On Tuesday evening, Andrew Bailey told pension funds, you've got 3 days left now and you've got to sort it out. Do you think that is a possibility, that they will sort it out?
I think that they probably will need a little bit more time. And as evidence by that, I'm surprised that Andrew Bailey was that adamant. And he certainly is not the world's best communicator, because there was a piece in the Financial Times the very next day saying that there had been private communications between members of the Bank of England or staff at the Bank of England and people who work at pension funds, saying that perhaps there would be an extension to this bond buying program, which is due to end Friday, as Andrew Bailey so definitively said. I think the markets still believe that there will be some sort of an extension, but that mixed messaging from the Bank of England was a little bit surprising. I also think that to put an end date on this when the markets are still clearly in absolute turmoil just gives the markets something to shoot for. I think the Bank of England might have been a little bit better had they kept their message on timing, at least a little bit vague. They're in a difficult position here. Remember, in a way to battle high inflation, the Bank of England had said, we're going to stop buying bonds. That's going to be part of our fight against inflation. They then had to turn that around because of this crisis in the bond market. So the Bank of England is in a difficult position and is sending mixed message after mixed message.
And do you think the markets are also a bit confused right now about this mixed messaging perhaps from the Prime Minister? Now, obviously, they've set out this host of measures which very much include tax cuts. But yesterday in Prime Minister's questions, Liz Truss, the Prime Minister, was clear that actually they would not be raising this money by cutting public spending. Now, you tell me, you're the expert. Where are they going to be raising this money from?
Okay, I'm flattered that you think that I'm an expert, but I don't think anybody, expert or not, can understand, can find any kind of way of understanding what Liz Truss said. And if you go back to that exchange with Keir Starmer, he said, "Can you confirm you're not going to cut spending?" She said, "I'm not," and sat back down. So no detail whatsoever on that. There seems to be a little bit of maneuvering behind the scenes. We're getting leaks here and there about some Conservative MPs seem to think that maybe they can get the government to roll back on some of those promised tax cuts. But I think we're all anxiously awaiting the statement on the 31st from Kwasi Kwarteng, where he's going to set out, we hope, a little bit more detail on what he plans to do. And he's also going to provide costings from the Independent Office from Budget Responsibility. But the fact that Kwasi Kwarteng has chosen to do this on the 31st of October, on Halloween, is just a gift to headline writers. Had anyone asked, I would have advised against that date.
I mean, what should ordinary people be doing then? You mentioned kind of mixed messages and the experts not exactly knowing, because of those mixed messages, as we mentioned in the introduction, that there has been a rush of people looking to cash in their pensions. I mean, what advice, if any, would you give to ordinary people?
I'd say, well, for the moment, stay away from looking at the financial pages. Stay away from looking at the day-to-day movements. Paradoxically, what is happening in the bond markets over the longer term will be very, very healthy for pensions. Pensions essentially promise to pay out, particularly defined benefit pensions, promise to pay out a certain amount to pensioners at a certain date based on their final salary. So the way pension funds work this out is they buy long-term assets like 30-year gilts, like 20-year gilts that are issued by the government. When pension funds were thought to be in the most perilous situation was a year ago, 2 years ago, where the yields on those long-dated assets were below 1%. It's very difficult to promise people any kind of uplift in their company pension when the assets that are behind that pension are only yielding 1%, 1.5%. So the fact that we are seeing yields on these assets go up to 4%, 4.5% is actually, over the longer term, very, very healthy for these long-term financial commitments. The problem that we have seen over the past couple of weeks is the speed of the volatility of these markets, which have kept prevented these pension funds from matching up their assets and their liabilities as they're planning from the long term. So higher interest rates for pension funds are a very good thing. It's the volatility that they're struggling to deal with right now.